Americans insist on calling it soccer? Why do they have such a problem calling it football?
That man is English comedian John Cleese, and as you just heard him express, he's not a very big fan when the popular international sport of football is referred to as soccer by Americans.
It's a game played with a ball that is struck with the foot, hence football. You see? Are you following this, America?
If you spend any time in the world of soccer, especially online, you'll find that most people and places around the world actually call this a football.
Football, football, football.
6.75 billion people in the world call it football.
But that does beg the question, if so many places and people around the world call it football, why exactly do Americans call it soccer? Well, today we're gonna find out.
First question is, what do you call this picture right here? What would you call this?
A soccer ball.
Soccer ball.
Soccer ball.
It's a soccer ball.
Soccer ball?
I would call it a soccer ball.
That's a soccer ball.
Soccer ball, yes.
So you see, I was born on the beautiful island of Guam, which is a US territory, and then after a little while I eventually moved to the US state of Texas. So as you can imagine, for most of my life I've often referred to the sport as soccer. But what has happened over time is I've become a fan of the sport internationally. I'm a big Manchester United fan. Obviously they play in England.
Let's go! Let's go! Come on!
And if I were maybe attending one of these games, let's say I went to go watch a Manchester United game, or really just talking to any of these other fans in the leagues abroad, I would not dare say the word soccer.
Play soccer. My kid plays soccer. So
Hold on. Let me just say something, yeah?
Yeah.
When you come to England, we don't call it soccer. It's football.
For fuck's sake, stop saying soccer.
Soccer just sounds cool.
No, it doesn't.
It sounds cool.
No, it doesn't.
Don't notice me, yeah? It's called football over here.
People in other countries, if you were to call this soccer in front of them, mayhem.
I would call it football over there.
Yeah, I would too, because to avoid the reaction, right?
yeah.
They're like, oh, you Americans don't call it soccer, it's football. Why do you think that upsets them so much over just a simple word?
It's a culture thing. It's big over there.
Well, because the game wasn't invented here, so why change the name?
They don't know that in different places they call it different types of balls. So they probably get mad because of that.
And so the question still remains, why do Americans choose to call it soccer? Why do we have to be so different from everyone else? And honestly, when we asked Americans their reasoning behind this word choice, there actually weren't very many definitive answers.
I don't have no reasons. That's what they call it.
It's been the name for ever since I've been here. That's just the name they got. I don't know any other name.
I'm already thinking, why are we not calling basketball handball? If
If
that's the whole premise here.
So clearly, Americans don't really have a reason for why they call it soccer. At least the people we talk to, and me myself, it's just, that's what we call it. That's what the people around us call it. That's what we grew up calling it.
In other places around the world, they actually call this a football. Did you know that?
No.
But there must be a reason, right? There must be an answer, an explanation. Why do Americans call it soccer? Why did they invent the word soccer? Well, actually, the Americans didn't invent the word soccer. It was actually the British.
It was from such people as the Bolton folk that it received its encouragement and its support. And the game that grew and flourished among the people of England is now played in every country of the world.
So football was invented many years ago in England, but because there were no set rules, the game actually looked a lot different from what we know it to be today. Although it was common to play with your feet, there's actually a lot of people that played a version of the sport that involved mostly using your hands, and that eventually created this divide of people. There were two groups, one that preferred to play mostly with their feet, and one that preferred to play mostly with their hands. So eventually in 1863, the British decided we're going to make two separate set of rules, which created two separate sports. The one sport that was once known as just football became the two sports, one which was known as association football, which was mostly played with your feet, and the other, rugby football, which was mostly played with your hands. But I know you're all wondering, what does this have to do with the word soccer? Well, let me explain. You see, at this time in England, it was actually pretty common for them to give nicknames to words by adding the letters ER at the end of it in some way. You see, if something costs £5, they would call it a fiver. If something costs £10, they would call it a tenner. So what they did with the word association in association football, the one you play with your feet, they took the SOC, added the ER to it, and called it soccer. But I know that still doesn't answer the question of, well, if all these other countries decided to stick with the term football, why did Americans go with the nickname of soccer? But fear not, there is an explanation. And it actually has a lot to do with another sport you may have heard of.
Okay, the next question is, what would you call this object here?
A football.
A football. And what would you call this object here?
Football.
Football.
A football ball?
Normally,
In America,
what would you call this object?
football.
So remember how that one sport of football actually became two sports, association football and rugby football? Well, while many other countries were becoming fans of association football, Americans actually took more interest in the other half, which was rugby football, the version where you use mostly your hands. And of course, here in America, we took rugby football and we kind of tweaked it and changed it and made it very American. And what was once known as rugby football actually became known as American football, or as Americans call it, just football. So by the time association football started to become popular here in America, American football had already stamped its place as the country's favorite sport. So they couldn't call association football football like the rest of the world because there was already a more popular, more established football, American football.
No way!
But of course they had to call it something, so what the Americans decided to do was they said, okay, association football, the one where you use your feet, we're gonna use the old nickname the British invented, and we're gonna call that soccer.
We call it soccer. Get used to it.
So now here I kind of have to say football if I don't want to get made fun of, but it'll always be soccer to me, I guess.
For those people that say don't call it soccer, do you have a message for them? What would you like to say to them?
It's just soccer. Doesn't matter what you call it, it's just we're from a different place, so just say whatever.
I mean, it's not that important at the end of the day, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
I get it. I get their view, right? They're passionate about the sport. It's where it originated. So call it football. I get it, but at the end of the day, there are bigger things to worry about.
Absolutely,
That's my
absolutely.
view, right?
Thanks again, guys, for watching. If you did enjoy the video, maybe consider giving it a like. That engagement really does help other people see it. Obviously, we're a newer, smaller channel, so that really does help the channel grow. And if you do want to consider subscribing, that will allow you to maybe be one of the first people to see a lot of the new content we're going to be putting out. Like I said, we're a new channel, so we really want to push out a lot of new content, and we really want to grow this community of American soccer fans. So if you want to be a part of that, do all this stuff. Like, comment, subscribe. Really does help, and I really do appreciate it. And yeah, that's all I have to say. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you all again soon.